Welcome to another Eternal Flash Draft. Remember to comment your thoughts on this new draft type, like and subscribe if you're enjoying the content. Looking at our opening pack here, our rare is another nonsense rare. Borderlands Waykeeper is the card I was really eyeing. Conversations in the last Flash Draft, a lot of the power level of cards in Eternal Unleashed are held at the uncommon slot. It's not a hard and fast rule, but it's a good shorthand. The other cards I was considering here, Friendly Visit, I'm thinking is better than it looks given all the Unleashed units. The amount of games that just end because your opponent pukes a bunch of Unleashed units onto the board is pretty substantial. But we end up going with the Borderlands Waykeeper. This was another interesting pack. Argenport Adept is probably the strongest card on its own power level wise. I don't generally like taking dual faction cards this early because it's more difficult to end up with all of those colors happening to be open and you actually playing the card. So I'd rather hedge my bets into one faction a little heavier, unless there's another card that's just super strong. But in this case, we end up going with Thunderpop, since that is solid removal and keeps us in Primal. Here, this was a little bit tough for me. The rare is another nonsense rare, so the three cards I was considering here is Sticky Fingers, lets us continue to be in Primal, and gives us a repeatable Frenzy enabler that can kind of set us up later in the draft if we end up with Frenzy themes. Otherwise, I was looking at Hour of Makar. I like the Sigil fetching relics. We ended up going with Sticky Fingers. Pretty easy decision. None of these cards here are super interesting besides Seek Power, and I think Reverberating Strike has its place in decks actually, given all the 1 health Unleash units, but we just take Thunderpop here, keeps us in Primal, and it's solid removal. This is another mediocre pack here. You're starting to see the theme. I debated picking Arcanum Orb just because time is where we preferably want to end up given the strong Unleash cards at common, but we end up hedging our bets and taking Midnight Tinker. Another nonsense rare here. The dual faction card's nowhere near us, and it's not even a great one, and all these other cards are kind of garbage. We end up going with Point Blank. We do have the Sticky Fingers to enable Frenzy, so theoretically that could go well paired with Fire. This pack, the only things I'm looking at are the Desertion, which is okay justice removal, and the Bust Out, but we end up going with Desertion since we already have one Justice card. Another not very inspiring pack. We take the Thrill Seeker here just because, once again, we have the Sticky Fingers, we have 2 Thunder Pops, all which can enable Frenzy, and if you can reliably trigger Frenzy, the Thrill Seeker isn't too bad. We take the Scaly Gruen, just defensive dinosaur. This is a pretty easy sleight of hand, nothing else interesting for us here. Then Deuce's Wild, since potentially we're in Fire, and then Viper's Bite, we obviously aren't going to play. Couple things I'm interested in. Pull Up and Vanquish are really solid Justice cards. One's removal and one's a solid combat trick, but Linray's Channeler has spell damage synergies. We have 2 Thunder Pops. We have a couple Frenzy type cards. This card could become really strong if we end up Skycrag and have some fire-based damage spells. So this was where I went deep in the tank. This was a hard pick for me just because I felt like this was a turning point in the draft. I could either take the Covenant Peacekeeper, and we could go kind of a Huru tempo flyer route, or just stick to Enraged Serpent, delay that decision of what's our second faction as long as possible. We end up going with the Enraged Serpent. So here we have an interesting rare in Parliament Elder, and there's nothing else that really contests with that. There's another Thunder Pop, we already have 2, there's a Core Repairman, but the Elder is just a better card. And as we see here, 3 cost 2/4 Flying Unleash. Unleash just makes it so much better. Kind of clunky, it stuns itself when it hits the enemy, so it'll be really difficult to actually finish your opponent with this card, but one can defend and it can ramp you by playing Justice Sigils for your deck. So, fine card, but kind of finicky. Here, there's nothing for us. We take Last Call because now we're kind of settling into Justice and Primal, and there's nothing else we would play in this pack. It's either between the Midnight Tinker or Suspicion. I did kind of think about Grizzled Hermit. That's a perfect card for the Frenzy Skycrag deck, but I think we were pretty solidly Justice now, especially picking up the decent rare, so we go with the Midnight Tinker. Aren't playing any of this, so we just rare draft. This was an interesting decision. I did consider Icequake, but I thought since we could be more of a tempo flyers Huru deck, it doesn't really play that well to that game plan since it deals 3 to everything and it's super expensive. So we end up going with Suspicion here. It could be really good in race situations where it stuns your opponent that's attacking you back and can help flip that race into your favor. Nothing amazing for us here. We take the Prodigious Student. We have no ways thus far of giving it a battle skill, but it's better than the Copperhall Recruit, and nothing else is in our factions. Here we just take the Through the Unknown. Not really for us. Hydrate, even though we aren't really going to play it. And then all of this is last bits of the pack here. So nothing really for us. This pack was brutal. We have Evelina here, which I can't even count how many games I've won solely off the back of that rare. But double time, we're super far from splashing it, and we have amazing primal cards in this pack. Learn to Bite, Cloudline Shaman, Caloric Mix. We'll take the Cloud Lion here over Learn to Bite. I think it does a little bit more, and it's just always great no matter what stage of the game you're in. Ooh, this was another tough pick. I was really between Caustic Rain here or Find the Moment. Caustic Rain I find is a better Inscribe card versus Scalehide and Ice Over, but man, Find the Moment's been such a boss for us lately. So we pick up our first Find the Moment here. This was another interesting decision. I debated taking the Searing Fist since we have a couple damage synergies, but we end up just going with the Scalehide here. This pack, once again, this has been a rough pack for us besides the Cloudline Shaman pull. We just take a Diminish here. Okay, this one, just Lethrai Pathfinder. And look at it, a premium Find the Moment. We slam a second copy of Find the Moment, and I'm starting to get vibes from that Rakano deck where we had 3 Find the Moments and actually got the 7 wins. So we'll see what we end up with here. Straight into a Disarm here. That's going to be the pickup. It's just perfect for our factions. Another Lethrai Pathfinder. I'm not a fan of the Elder given all the other 6-drops we could be playing in its place, and I like to take another early play rather than a really mediocre 6-cost unit. So here we actually pick up our third Find the Moment, and we end up going with that over just the first Frostpack Sprite. Find the Moment just overperforms, and having 3 of them will be nuts. Easy Mithril Garden for some Inscribe. Kasul Envoy is the only pick here in our factions. The rare, not good enough for us. And not really much here besides that, so we end up going with the Core Repairman. This card has overperformed. A 2-3 blocks, okay. And the ultimate to make a 1-1 with Flying and Warcry, that 1-1 with Warcry and Evasion has really been overperforming. Now this was an interesting pick. We have Pin the Jotun, but our units aren't too strong if you've noticed. So I actually hedge and pick the rare here. It's a board wipe that requires 3 Justice Influence, which is kind of harsh, but board wipes, when you know you have them and can manipulate the board to your advantage, can be very powerful. So pick it up just in case it makes the deck. Just between Backlash, Enraged Serpent, and Nevermore, I figured our removal is doing okay, so we didn't really need Nevermore, and I thought I wanted a couple more flyers to finish the game in the air, so we go with our second copy of Enraged Serpent here. So here, not much here for us. We end up going with the uncommon. The Forlorn Griffin, it's just a 1-3. It's not going to do too much damage in the air, but it actually defends pretty well at 3 cost and can defend against insect swarms. So this pretty boring pack. I thought our removal's still doing okay, so I didn't think we needed another desertion. So we end up taking the Jotun Warrior. It is a 3/5, which is okay. I'm not happy about this, but I figure it could be a okay ground unit to defend us. We end up with a Sleight of Hand or Thunder Pop. Is this our third Thunder Pop now? And remember, these can just go to face. This, we end up taking the Suspicion here. Nothing for us. We probably won't make this play the second Suspicion. Take the uncommon because there's nothing for us. Here we get an Ice Glider, which is a flyer and can kill something. And then the rest of these packs are basically nonsense. And this is the final build of the deck here. We kept it to basically all of our direct interaction and just a solid curve of units. Pretty low curve deck, and I feel like we can sneak away with some games in the air. Between Parliament Elder, we have the Core Repairman that can make the 1/1, 2 Enraged Serpents, Cloudline Shaman, the Ice Glider, just several ways we can end up finishing this in the air, and with all the Find the Moments and Thunder Pops, I think we have a really good chance of beating our opponent in race situations. I hope you guys enjoyed this draft. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate it, and it helps me know the type of content you guys enjoy. I'll catch you on the channel for more Eternal Unleashed drafts. Peace.